Hello everyone, welcome back to The Independent Pianist. I'm your host, as usual, Cole, and today we are looking at a piece by a composer who's rapidly becoming one of my favorites, Fanny Mendelssohn. Like many classically trained pianists, I was never exposed to much of Fanny's music during my earlier training and schooling. Although her music is extraordinarily daring, interesting, as well as very numerous, she has at least 466 separate pieces in the catalog. We very rarely get a chance to hear her music played. This particular work is a prelude in the Baroque manner, and Fanny composed this piece in 1827, exactly the time that her brother Felix was preparing his famous revival of J.S. Bach's St. Matthew's Passion. So Fanny was also having a field day writing works that were inspired by the Baroque. Although this prelude follows the standard outline of a Baroque prelude, it features the same kind of consistency of rhythm and motive that you might expect from a Bach prelude, like one from the Well-Tempered Clavier. And it also has a fairly standard formal structure, main motive and theme, which is then varied through interesting modulations before a return to the main idea, and a very neo-Baroque conclusion with an avoided cadence and a Picardy third. It really sounds like some of these intensely expressive, moody kind of Bach preludes from the Well-Tempered Clavier in minor keys. However, that's where the resemblance to Bach ends. There's a wonderful kind of romantic language at use here. There's a kind of a glow to the sound, which is also a result of the superb piano writing. Oftentimes, she seems to be suggesting organ sonorities and an incredibly rich kind of sound at the piano. As I've noticed before with Fanny's music, as contrasted with her more famous brother, who of course is also a wonderful composer, I find that there is a daringness to many of her modulations and dissonances that she uses, a kind of poignancy to her sound and a depth and breadth to the way she uses the piano, whereas Felix tends to have a much more kind of transparent, almost classical sound. I'm tempted to say that I'm even beginning to prefer her music to her brother's, although, of course, there's no need to choose. It's definitely time that her music stops being neglected because it's fabulous stuff and extremely well written for the piano. So now for another exciting discovery that I made related to this piece, which is going to become a project for this channel going forward. I stumbled upon this piece while listening to a collection of Fanny's music, and it was by itself, a standalone, and it has been published that way. When I heard it first, it sounded to me like a prelude that belonged to a fugue, very much in the style of one of the Well-Tempered Clavier preludes by J.S. Bach. But I couldn't find any reference to the fugue, or it didn't seem to be published, if in fact there was a fugue. Well, as it turns out, there is a fugue. In fact, there's a fugue and 4 other movements of a full-fledged Baroque suite in E minor. This suite, which Fanny of course wrote in 1827, 1828, it's never been published. It's only existed in manuscript until now. Thanks to the wonder of the internet, I stumbled upon an amazing website which I highly recommend to anyone who wants to start playing more of Fanny Mendelssohn's music. It's called henselpushers.org. I really recommend taking a look. It's a great site. They have quite a few scores that you can't find anywhere else, including on IMSLP. This suite is not published anywhere. They're the only ones who have it. And it's free, so you can download it and you can learn it and start including it in concerts, and I think that that is definitely something that needs to happen very soon. They index all of her works in a very handy format, linking to published editions as well as IMSLP. There's background info and much more. It's really a treasure trove. I'm not sure who's running this site, but they're great, whoever they are. It's very well worth looking into. And for me, this discovery is super exciting because, we always hear that Fanny was very hesitant to try her hand at large-scale works. She didn't write very many. She tended to prefer songs and one-off piano pieces. Maybe she was hesitant in some ways, but it seems like she actually did try her hand at several large-scale works, including this suite. I've only had a chance to just play through it one time. I haven't really familiarized myself with it completely, but it seems like an amazing work, and I have a feeling that this might end up being a really major composition from the 19th century, waiting to be discovered and performed on concerts. So this is going to be a project I'm going to be tackling over the next little while to get a complete performance of this suite online. As far as I know, it's never been performed or recorded in any way, so I guess this will be the premiere performance. So in the meantime, please enjoy this performance of the Prelude from the suite in E minor by Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel. And one small note, this version is slightly different than the version in the manuscript that contains the entire suite. This is the version that actually I believe was actually published separately. I'm going to record the other version as well when I do get around to doing the full suite. But I'll probably be going movement by movement because the suite it's quite ambitious. The movements are pretty long and complicated. So it might take me a little while to get all of them under my fingers. So thank you again for supporting this channel. All of you who are my subscribers, or if you support the channel financially using patreon.com, thank you very much. If you don't support the channel financially yet, you can do that at www.patreon.com/independent pianist. Every little bit does help me to keep bringing you this really interesting content, this really unusual content. So if you want to see more of this sort of stuff where I really dig into famous pieces or unusual pieces and give you all the nitty-gritty details on the analysis in the background, please do consider supporting the channel. It does really help. So thank you again, and until next time, this is Cole Anderson signing off.